So in this video, I'm going to explain a new way to incorporate visualization and the law of attraction into an existing exercise routine to create your ideal body, which is already well documented in scientific literature. But the way that I'm going to talk about it's actually different, and it's based on the theory of the etheric body, which I think most people generally don't do it this way. But I want to go through the scientific evidence of how this works to start with, how effective visualization is. And one well-known study, there were two control groups, and they were healthy, but they put their arm in a cast so that it couldn't be moved. One group did nothing. The other group just visualized for 10 minutes a day, twice a day for a month, which is not very much at all. But they visualized that they were exercising. They didn't actually exercise. They just did pretend that they were using the arm in the cast. So at the end of the study, the control group were physically stronger, and they had more neuromuscular pathways in the cortex of the brain, which controls and regulates muscular movement. So this was easily measurable. But there are many, many studies like this showing the efficacy of visualization to change the body. So there are different types of visualization that's mentioned in the scientific literature. So in one type, then it's in body. So you imagine that you're going through the motions of a sport. So say, for example, you're laying down, you're not actually doing anything, but you lay down and you imagine going through the motions of a sport. For example, practicing a golf swing and practicing a perfect golf swing. So you can do it in your mind. So then there's a few studies around this. So one study shows that being very relaxed helps with the recall of the physical movements. And another study shows that for people that have trouble visualizing, then watching video helps recall the movements. So say, for example, you're working on a golf swing. If you keep on watching videos of the perfect golf swing and looking at the way the person's body is, then it's easier for you to remember that. So, of course, that makes me think of a vision board, you know, in New Age circles, where, well, I think maybe many of us watching this video use a vision board. And they don't call it a vision board in scientific literature, of course, but that's what it is. So when you're making pictures of what you want to manifest, you're actually just practicing what you're going to visualize or what the inner pictures of your mind are going to be. So the other type of visualization mentioned in the literature is emotive. So you imagine being healed and doing what the injury prevents. So say, for example, you know, your foot's all swollen and you can't walk very well and it's red and angry and there's no way you can walk, then you can just imagine, you lay down, you're all relaxed, and you imagine walking around doing what you want and feel as if, you know, you were happy, you're at a party, you're enjoying yourself, whatever, and your foot is fine. So in other words, in non-scientific literature, we'd call that creative visualization. But of course, they don't call it creative visualization in scientific literature. They call it emotive visualization. But I think many people that are watching this video would recognize that as living in the end. You know, you've got the emotive state of living as though things have already manifested the way that you want. So the last type of visualization mentioned in scientific literature is called healing visualization, where you look at pictures of an uninjured body part and imagine that as though it's your body. To say, for example, your foot is injured and it's all red and swollen in a cast. You get a picture of a healthy foot that looks roughly like yours, but not all red and swollen, obviously. And then you look at that picture so that you can visualize it very, very well. And then you simply close your eyes and you imagine your foot all healthy and well and everything. So again, it's like a vision board, that the picture is there to train you in what you're going to be visualizing. So the way that you can use this in the new way, I think, that ties in with an exercise routine that really works for me is using the etheric body, which I won't go into. I'll maybe make another video about the etheric body, but you've got a ghost body, Okay, you've got a body in your mind and you've got a physical body. So you've got a body that you imagine. So if you look at your hand now and you say maybe touch your fingers, little finger, ring, go like this, touching each fingertip to your thumb. And you can see that with your eyes. And then you close your eyes and you keep doing the same thing. So you've got the sensation, you can feel the touch. But then you've got an imaginary hand in the mind, which you'd say then is the mental, the etheric body. Okay, you've got a corresponding mental body at the same time. So what you can do is, now sometimes that body, you've got a whole body, you kind of imagine where you are sitting or standing or whatever you're doing. Imagine in your mind now, your body and your face. You might, it intersperses your actual place in space, but it might be like really dysmorphic. Some people might think of themselves as much bigger or smaller than they are. But of course, you can choose to see anything you want to see in the mind. So, but say you've got an exercise. Much exercise is just repetitive. This doesn't work so well, say, if you're jogging, you need to think about where you're going and stuff. But say you've got something where you're lifting a weight again and again, or you're laying on the floor and you're going from left to right again and again, or it's sit-ups. You know, usually people, maybe they're listening to a podcast or they're not actually doing something with their mind at this, while they're doing that. The mind's kind of just, we can wander. But what you can do is, first of all, do the exercise left, right, up, down, or whatever you're doing. But be aware then of the mental body and make the mental body as you want it to be. So if there's any injury you've got, that you're not injured. If you're trying to be a bit slimmer, imagine that and feel the sensation. Say your stomach would be slimmer, would be very taut. Then, as you know, say you're doing sit-ups, you're coming up and down, you're aware of how that would look if it was as you want to manifest it. So this is one thing, but the other thing is in the surroundings that you're in. Okay, so maybe you're doing this in some, say, for example, a cheap apartment, and you want to live somewhere much nicer, and you've already got lots of pictures on a vision board of where you want to be. Then be there, your eyes are closed, and you're doing the exercise, feeling yourself into this mental body as your physical body's doing the exercise. And you're seeing the body that you want to manifest, but you can also be in the place that you want to manifest. So that could be a much better apartment. Say, for example, you're trying to manifest a significant other, so to get back with a partner, then you could be in a park on a picnic doing that exercise, and there with you, you're aware of the body that you want to manifest, and that person's with you, and you can hear them talking, or maybe they're helping you in some way, counting the reps for you. Another thing is, say you want to go to a certain place on holiday, you could be in the hotel, and your partner could be sitting there behind you saying, God, what a great holiday we're having. I love this place. So in that way, you're killing two birds with one stone. But this changing where you actually are in space. I mean, I'll make other videos about what is referred to as astral light in the literature, and I think it's not talked about that much nowadays. But I think if you listen to some of the Neville Goddard talks, where Neville talks about being in a different place, like when he wanted to go home to Barbados, he was in one place and he just imagined around him he was already in a different place in his mind, and then that kind of manifests. You're manifesting the surroundings that you want around you, and you're also manifesting the body that you want to have, that's healthier or that's fitter. So that is my technique of how I'm using visualization in a exercise routine that I'm doing anyway. It's not actually taking extra time. Now, there's a lot to be said for visualizing when you're very relaxed or in a trance state, and that's one form of it to impress the unconscious. But of course, you've also got a mental eye. You've got the way that you're imagining yourself on a moment-to-moment basis when you're living life. And you've got this inner body, and say it's very dysmorphic, or say you're ill and you imagine yourself, say you're injured, And you've got that picture of the injured body in the mind. And if you just refuse to ever picture yourself that way or orientate your feelings from that actual physical body you can see, which isn't perfect or which is ill or has got some problem, but you don't orientate your feelings or your mental pictures of yourself from that body, then you're giving your unconscious the correct or the desired outcome for the way that you want to manifest. Anyway, so these are just some thoughts about it. And what I do when I visualize, and I've got some health issues, so I do physio also. And let me know how that is for you, okay? And do feel free to subscribe and leave a comment, because that helps the algorithm, and you'll see it's a new channel. And think for yourself, because I'm not always right. I'm always Jay.